Welcome to the module on social group work in an educational setting. The learning objectives of this module are: the learner will understand the importance of social group work and how it can be practiced in educational settings, the factors that influence the role of the social group worker, the role of the social worker in the group process, the stages of group development. Introduction. Social work professionals in India work with community, groups, families and individuals who are elderly, delinquent, unemployed or who are differently abled. The services of social workers are grouped within various fields of practice as they relate to addressing specific social problems, meeting the needs of client groups or practicing in particular settings. The prominent settings include family and child welfare, health and rehabilitation, mental health, occupational social work, community development, education or school social work in correctional settings, and providing gerontological services. Social group work practice is possible in all settings. The models may vary according to the needs and the nature of the setting. Similarly, the role of the social group worker also will vary in different settings. The function of a social worker in dealing with a group is to help its members accomplish group goals. The worker in this setting is responsible for the provision of guidance and help for the group. The social group worker is a person with knowledge, skills and values who influences indirectly rather than directly. She or he is primarily a helping person, not a group leader. She or he allows the group to work at its own pace and provides professional help as and when required. The worker is not a part of the group, but he or she enters into it when the individual in the group or the group as a whole or both need professional help to fulfill their own purposes. It must be noted that social group worker is not needed in all groups. Many groups, just as many individuals, will be perfectly capable of carrying out their programs by themselves and will not need professional help. The professional group worker, as part of a helping profession, should be available wherever help is needed. The group worker's role in the group can begin at various stages in different groups. She or he may have to perform some role even before actually meeting the group. This is particularly true when a worker within an agency framework deliberately forms a group. Help will be offered depending on the need of the group. The worker's role will vary with different groups. This is because of the groups and the situations within which they operate. As a group worker, one has to keep enough flexibility and adaptability, since an appropriate group work contribution in one group or at one stage of a group's development may be totally inappropriate in another group or at another time. Factors that influence the role of the social group worker. The worker needs to understand the group along with its requirements, problems and goals and the circumstances surrounding it before attempting to define the specific aspects of her or his role with the group. The primary considerations or factors that influence the role of group workers are the setting, the nature of the agency, its functions and scope, facilities available with the agency, The nature of the group, the interests, needs, abilities, and limitations of individual members, the goal of the group, the skill and competence of the worker, the amount of help the group needs and is willing to accept. The social group worker's role in the group process. The interactions and relationships of the members in any group are never static. They change with time and situations. These changing interactions and relationships, along with all the developments and changes taking place in a group, are known as group processes. It is the worker with his or her knowledge and expertise who helps the group to grow through the processes. From this perspective, a group worker has to play the following roles in the group: enabler, broker, advocate, activist, mediator, educator, initiator, empowerer, coordinator, group facilitator, communicator, and interpreter. Social group work in an educational setting. An educational setting is a group setting where the social workers help children whose problems in the school or colleges have their genesis in social and emotional factors in the child, in his family, or in a social environment. 4 parties are directly or indirectly involved in group work in an educational setting. They are the child, the family, the school staff, and the community. Rapidly changing social, moral, ethical, and religious values have destabilized certain lifestyles in the present society, especially among children. These have significantly affected their health, both physical as well as mental. Poor eating habits, poor personal hygiene, lack of rest, need for quick results, pleasure-seeking behavior, and stress make an unholy triad in substance abuse, violence, and early sexual experimentation. Certain inbuilt buffers of society, which function as support as well as control, are no longer available to today's children, especially adolescents. The extended family system, a smaller community which was personal and closed, uniformity in culture in the smaller circle of living, traditional ways of thinking and behavior with very little individual need to exercise choices, etc., are among some of the vanishing buffers in our social fabric. As a result, the stress faced by the children is enormous. This is reflected back by growing suicide rates and rising crime among children. An urgent need is felt to provide today's children with certain skills and support to equip them to face the demands and challenges of daily living. Since the individual rather than the system is recognized as the basic unit of society, it is essential and a must to help children develop skills to handle a wide variety of choices, challenges, and stressors in their life. The values of a stable society and the family have to be replaced with the skills of the individual that would enable him or her to be stable amidst rapid transition in society. Social group work plays an important role in this regard. The worker organizes group work activities in the form of recreation, role plays, storytelling, group exercises, or any other relevant program media to increase the capacity of social participation and constructive group interaction among school or college students. Through guided group interactions, the worker promotes relatedness, belongingness, and the feeling of identification among children, which will help in the improvement of their social adjustment and the development of their personality. Social and academic adjustments are very common among students, especially adolescents, on the onset of puberty. Underachievement, disruption, dropout, loneliness, isolation, withdrawal from meaningful peer relationships, all are common among them. Adding to this, one can find the menace of substance abuse, identity crisis, disorders like ADHD, learning disorders, adjustment disorders, conduct disorders, etc. Benefits of group work in an educational setting. This helps in social and academic adjustment among the children. It provides opportunity for constructive participation, value education, leadership development, life skill education, orients children about cooperation, teamwork, and role taking. Ensures socialization, career orientation, and helps in personality development. The mutual aid processes that unfold in a group context help group members to experience their concerns and life issues as universal, to reduce isolation and stigma, to offer and receive help from each other, and to learn from each other's views, suggestions, and challenges. One of the frameworks used in working with groups is the assumption that many persons lack the requisite skills and experiences to cope with stresses in their social relationships. These stresses usually occur in their childhood, when children and adolescents move from one status and role position to the other, or from one milieu to the other. For example, when a child moves out from a relatively secure and stable home environment to a school which is a more open and dynamic environment, from a primary school to middle or higher secondary school, from school to college, etc. These changes create stress as a child or an adolescent is expected to adjust to a new set of norms and also rules meant for regularizing behavior. Adolescents in general experience stress associated with physical development, social acceptance, and academic performance. The degree of stress is directly related to the degree of life skills they possess in coping with change. For example, for a young boy to move from a rural school to an urban higher education institution will cause more stress than for a young person moving from an urban school to a higher education institution in an urban area. Similarly, a child from a family of uneducated parents will face more stress at school and other educational institutions. The inadequacy of life skills such as verbal and non-verbal communication, asserting, handling feelings and conflicts, coupled with experience of functioning in a group consisting of members from multicultural backgrounds, increases the stress, leading to maladjustment problems. This framework helps a group worker to understand the children and adolescents exhibiting stress symptoms and their inability to adjust in the group. The worker can provide these children with a support group to discuss their problems and learn from each other and to understand the coping strategies that they are using to deal with the situation. The group worker can also help them to learn new life skills, to update their competence, to cope with stresses and sources of stresses. Characteristics of group work in educational settings. Group work in educational settings makes use of multiple relationships and a multi-person process: worker to students, worker to teachers, worker to parents, student to student, parent to parent, parent to teacher, teacher to teacher, etc. The group is an instrument for meeting basic needs among the students and to strengthen individual capacities. It promotes identification of participants with one another and provides freedom to relate as and when the client is ready for it. A unique characteristic of group work among students is its use of colorful and creative program media such as play, discussion, arts and crafts, music, dance, drama, role play, outings and parties which facilitate mastery of skills and serve as a vehicle for fostering the expectations from a student life. Program activities offer scope for utilization of non-verbal communication, a particularly valuable tool for children of all ages who cannot articulate their needs and problems. Membership in the group, exposure to its influences, participation in its activities, and acquisition of a role and status within it can have potent effects for individuals. Models of social group work in an educational setting. The three models of group work with wider scope in an educational setting may be termed as remedial, developmental, preventive. Remedial groups focus on restoration to normalcy after a period of breakdown. Remedial groups focus on restoration to normalcy after a point of breakdown. The term developmental can be understood when it enhances maturational tasks in the human life cycle as the children pass through each stage, thus helping them to adjust and cope with the demands of each day. Preventive groups work with the connotation that prevention is better than cure. Providing life skills can be viewed in this respect. Stages in group development. Stage 1, orientation or forming. Group members are learning what to do, how the group will operate, what's expected, and what's acceptable. Students watch the facilitator and each other for cues and clues and seek guidelines and stated expectations. They want to feel safe and comfortable, and many will do only limited sharing until that comfort zone is established. Some students will be comfortable sharing openly even on the first day, either because they enjoy this type of interaction or because they already feel comfortable with the facilitator and or the other students in the group. As a facilitator, you can call on these students to give examples, to be the first to answer questions, and model positive interactions for the other group members. As the group leader, you can also help your students move through orientation successfully by providing clear guidelines, information, and structure, by listening with compassion and keeping communication open and respectful. You may want to begin your group with some low-risk warm-up activities that help them get to know each other or get more comfortable in the group setting. Stage 2, power struggle or storming. The next stage, which Tuckman calls storming, is characterized by competition and conflict. As students become more comfortable, they may challenge each other or the facilitator, attempt to form cliques and exclude or ignore certain students and push limits. This can be frustrating for everyone involved, but it helps to know it's just a stage and things tend to get much better once it's passed. As a facilitator, one of your main challenges is to maintain boundaries. Be an active but compassionate leader. Let everyone be heard and express thoughts and feelings while teaching, reminding, and requiring them to stay respectful and productive. You can acknowledge differences and still model creative problem solving, helping students to focus on what they have in common and building a more cohesive group. As the group members attempt to organize for the task, conflict inevitably results in their personal relations. Individuals have to bend and mold their feelings, ideas, attitudes, and beliefs to suit the group organization. Because of fear of exposure or fear of failure, there will be an increased desire for structural clarification and commitment. Although conflicts may or may not surface, they do exist. Questions will arise about who is going to be responsible for what the rules are, what the reward system is, and what criteria for evaluation are. These reflect conflicts over leadership, structure, power, and authority. There may be wide swings in members' behavior based on emerging issues of competition and hostilities. Because of the discomfort generated during the stage, some members may remain completely silent while others attempt to dominate. In order to progress to the next stage, group members must move from a testing and proving mentality to a problem-solving mentality. The most important trait in helping groups to move on to the next stage seems to be the ability to listen. Stage 3, cooperation and integration or norming. This is where being in a group becomes fun and enjoyable most of the time. Group interaction becomes easier, more cooperative and productive, with balanced give and take, open communication, bonding, and mutual respect. If there is a conflict or disruption, it's relatively easily resolved, and the group gets back on track. Group leadership is still important, but the facilitator can step back a little and let group members initiate more and move forward together. As a facilitator, you can stay aware and help the group get back on track as needed, encourage participation and creativity, and enjoy the flow of the activities. Continue to give support and encouragement, reinforce the positive feel of the group, and fine-tune as needed. During this stage, interpersonal relations are characterized by cohesion. Group members are engaged in active acknowledgement of all members' contribution and solving of group issues. Members are willing to change their preconceived ideas or opinions on the basis of facts presented by other members, and they actively ask questions of one another. Leadership is shared and cliques dissolve. When members begin to know and identify with one another, The level of trust in their personal relations contributes to the development of group cohesion. It is during this stage of group development that the children begin to experience a sense of group belonging and a feeling of relief as a result of resolving interpersonal conflicts. Creativity is high. If this stage of data flow and cohesion is attained by the group members, their interactions are characterized by openness and sharing of information on both a personal and task level. They feel good about being part of an effective group. The major drawback of the norming stage is that members may begin to fear the inevitable future breakup of the group. They may resist change of any sort. Stage 4. Synergy or performing. Not every group reaches this level, and if you spend most of a school year in stage 3, it will still be a productive and enjoyable group. Synergy emerges when the group shifts or evolves into another level, often without realizing what's happening. Here, there's a sense of group unity, group members looking out for each other even outside of the group setting, deepening friendships or bonds, and a dynamic energy no matter what the task. This is the epitome of the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The performing stage is not reached by all groups. If group members are able to evolve to stage 4, their capacity, range and depth of personal relations expand to true interdependence. In this stage, people can work independently, in subgroups, or as a total unit with equal facility. Their roles and authorities dynamically adjust to the changing needs of the group and individuals. Stage 4 is marked by interdependence in personal relations and problem solving in the realm of task functions. By now, the group should be most productive. Individual members have become self-assuring, and the need for group approval is past. Members are both highly task-oriented and highly people-oriented. There is unity. Group identity is complete. Group morale is high, and group loyalty is intense. The task function becomes genuine problem solving, leading towards optimal solutions and optimum group development. There is support for experimentation in solving problems and an emphasis on achievement. The overall goal is productivity through problem solving and work. Stage 5. Closure or adjourning. The closure stage of a group can be confusing and disconcerting if the members of the group don't know it's coming. After weeks or months of a smoothly running group, as the end of the group or the school year approaches, things may start to fall apart for no apparent reason. Students may bicker with and criticize each other, and anger may surface in unexpected ways. This is a normal part of group process. Many students have no idea how to deal with endings, goodbyes, or losses, and they don't know how to find closure. Being angry with each other or in conflict is easier for many students than feeling or addressing the sadness of saying goodbye. It's easier to be angry than to be vulnerable. Students who have abandonment issues may become especially argumentative or unruly. As a facilitator, one of the best things a worker can do is explain to the students what's happening, validate their feelings, set clear boundaries, and treat the whole situation as another opportunity to learn and practice a vital skill: how to say goodbye. The worker also has to facilitate a group closure activity, a party or a ceremony, and has to find ways for students to thank and celebrate each other and honor what they have achieved as a group. Adjourning involves the termination of tasks, behaviors, and disengagement from relationships. A planned conclusion usually includes recognition for participation and achievement, and an opportunity for members to say personal goodbyes. Concluding a group can create some apprehension, in effect, a minor crisis. The termination of the group is a regressive movement from giving up control or giving up inclusion in the group. The most effective intervention in this stage are those that facilitate task termination and the disengagement process. For a group to develop properly through the stages of group development, it needs to do the following: rotate the responsibility of group facilitation. The purpose or mission of the group must be clear to all members, and the purpose or mission should be periodically revisited. Ground rules should be established and monitored. Help the group understand that conflict in a positive way is a normal and perhaps necessary part of group development. The group must be reminded to listen to each other. Wrap up at the end of each session should comprise of meaningful and constructive comments relative to the group process. Everyone must contribute and work to make the group a learning team. Conclusion. Studies on adolescents find that at least 1 in 4 of them are at serious risk of never achieving productive adulthood. To remedy this situation, social group work can play an important role. Modern day education has become totally academic centered and not person centered. It revolves around performance. It tests mainly the student's ability to assimilate and reproduce information in specific formats rather than giving them a platform to explore and hone their skills and talents. Social group work, while practiced in an educational setting, can improve the competencies in children that are needed to be possessed to become healthy and well-balanced individuals. Summary of this module. In this module, the learner got an opportunity to understand the importance of social group work in educational settings, to know how social group work can be practiced in educational settings, the role of the social worker in the group process, and finally, the module also provided an understanding to the learner about the stages of group development. Thank you for attending this module.